Yes, hello.
Hey, I'm
Hey.
not sure what happened.
Oh yeah, me either. How you doing?
Good, how are you? Nice to
I'm
meet
doing.
you.
Yes, I'm doing okay. Thank you
That's
for being here for
good.
us. Yes, thank you
Yes,
for being here today.
awesome. Pronounce your first name for me so I can get it right.
Arby.
Arvi.
Yes,
And your
but
last
I go by Ark.
R.
Hark.
Okay, okay. All
Yes.
right. And your last name?
Kidiadi.
Kidiadi.
Yes, you got
Okay.
it right.
Okay, good.
Yes. So basically, my idea was to use this platform so I could empower many other people because most of the time I receive a lot of questions from people asking me how they can do this, how they can take their life to the next level, how they can do this. So by myself, basically,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot have all the answers. So I was like, what about bringing other people to the show so that we can share ideas to help them execute on their goals and dreams?
That's awesome. I would
Yes,
love that.
I am really happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. This is
Yes,
awesome.
yes. Would you please like to introduce yourself and tell us what you do and how did you get to do what you are doing right now?
Okay, so my name is Monica Brown. I recently wrote a book. It's called Only One. My career has been in IT technology. So I've been in corporate America for like over 20 years
Okay.
and recently decided to write a book about being most of the time the only African American woman in a lot of these executive roles. So I
Yes.
wanted to share, my perspective,
Uh-huh.
some of my experiences, some things
Right,
just to
right.
make other people that look like us
Yes.
aware of what's happening around them when they're in a corporate environment. So I really wanted to document that and
Okay.
share that with other people. So, if one person gains awareness about themselves while they're on their corporate journey, I've
Yeah.
done my job. But that's the purpose of the book and the reason for the title, Only One.
That's awesome. I just ordered my copy like a few days ago. I'm still waiting on it.
Yes, awesome. Now,
Yes.
where are you located?
Seattle.
Seattle, Washington. Okay. I used to work
Yes.
for T-Mobile, so I'm
Oh,
familiar with Redmond.
oh, nice.
Yes.
Yes. So, what are some of the challenges did you face along the way in your career, and how did you overcome them?
I think one of the biggest challenges was not really understanding when things were happening to me,
Yes.
why they were happening. So, as a person with a pretty strong work ethic, I like to do my job. I like to do it
Uh-huh.
well.
Yeah.
And there were times and situations where I felt like I had done beyond my best, but it still wasn't good enough.
Uh-huh.
I felt like there were times when, for whatever reason, I was scrutinized
Yeah.
or my work just didn't meet the standards when I would see counterparts who, white male counterparts who were pretty much doing less than I was doing, who
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
really weren't suffering from the same type of scrutiny that I was suffering from. So um, it really started to raise my awareness about why, and I started to pay more attention
Uh-huh.
around
Uh-huh.
certain situations like
Yeah.
being openly disrespected
Uh-huh.
or over talked,
Yeah.
in certain
Yeah.
situations or totally disregarded, just
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out why.
Yes.
And the more I started to become aware, the more I noticed the people who were doing it, um, who were pretty much mostly the same person,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
not physically, but figuratively
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
same person doing it. And I started to really take notice about what was happening around me. So that created more awareness. And with
Yeah.
the awareness, I was able to deal with it more, with different tactics and ways to manage my emotions because you
Yeah.
become frustrated and angry.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out how to channel that in a
Oh yeah.
different
Uh-huh.
way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard in America. I mean, for us black folks, and I can imagine for you like being a black woman in
Mm-hmm.
that company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard. When I came to America, I got a job. I was doing it pretty good. I started to get some promotions, but the
Mm-hmm.
more I was moving up, the harder it became.
That's right.
Not because the job was hard, just because I was me.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people they have to understand that as like Black people, we have to work twice as hard as anyone else, just
Yes.
just to make it. So we have to break a lot of barriers that people don't really understand, because some of them they are not in our position, and most of them they ignore it. But
Yes.
it's really tough.
It's very tough. And a few things that I talk about in the book are exactly that, the glass ceiling that you have to break.
Yeah.
But it's not just what it is, it's how you do it, because
Hmm,
there's a
hmm.
way to
Yes.
do it to um, make sure that you're maintaining your resilience,
Yes.
and
Correct.
you're maintaining your emotional intelligence, because the moment you start to show anger and frustration,
Yes. Hmm,
you're
hmm.
already labeled, right? Before
Yes.
you come in as the angry Black man or the angry
Uh-huh.
Black
Uh-huh.
woman. And, I'm expected to, twist my hand and, snap and do all of this stuff. But
Yeah.
there's a way to do it so that you don't give them the satisfaction of getting to you. You figure out
Correct.
how to play the game with them and not
Correct.
against them. You use them at their own game. And I talk about that a lot in the book, because that's the way that you influence.
Yeah.
And then that's the way you pave the path for somebody else to come behind you.
Yeah. I always see that way, that you get to a point sometimes you have to stop proving everybody else wrong and just prove yourself right to just
That's
move on.
right. That's right. That's exactly right. So I'm feeling like you've had some similar experiences. So it sounds like,
I mean, a lot.
yeah.
A lot. Like way too much.
So what were some of the things, and I'm pretty sure, once you get the book, some of it may resonate with you, but what were some of the things, or maybe like one of the top one or two things that you realized in that journey? Because you're, African American man, but you're also from, you
Oh,
know,
I'm
uh,
from Africa.
yeah, so you're not even from here. So
Yeah.
you have like another thing that you have
Yes.
to get over as well. So what were some of your experiences?
I mean, ignorance was a common one from
Hmm.
other companies I've been working with for the past few years. But right
Yeah.
now, I am happy. I'm building my own business, and I'm doing some other stuff by my own.
Hmm.
But when I was working for these companies, sometimes they don't just give you opportunities, not because you don't deserve it, but just because it's you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I was in a situation where I was doing the job already. I mean, I didn't have the job title, but I've been doing the job for the past, I'm gonna say, for like 3 4 months.
Hmm.
And then they brought another candidate from the outside to take over the position.
Hmm.
And that guy he just messed up, and I left the company because of that situation. I left the
Hmm.
company, and a few months back, they called me, or, would you, I mean, I was like, okay, I'm coming back, not because you deserve me back, but I'm coming back to prove myself right, that I am
Hmm.
the right person for the job.
Hmm.
And I came there, I fixed in 6 months what the other person couldn't fix in like 2 years.
Wow. So you had the job, you
Yes,
were doing the work, and they brought somebody else in.
to take over the
Didn't
position.
offer you the job, didn't have a
Yeah,
conversation with you about the
no,
job. That
no,
happens so often. It
yeah.
happens so often. And to your point, it's because of who you are.
Hmm.
There's a lot of that systemic, racism that's still there.
Yeah,
But the fact that you were able to go back and prove them wrong, hey, that's probably more sweet of a story than, anything else that we could probably talk about today, because
yeah.
that just proves that it has nothing to do with the color of your skin,
Uh-huh.
your
Hmm,
ability
hmm.
to perform and do the work. And
Yeah,
that's what you should be judged on, and
yeah.
not the color of your skin. Absolutely.
Because, yeah, when that happened to some people, if you are not like mentally strong enough to deal with the situation and to
That's right.
understand who you truly are, that can destroy your career.
That's
That
right.
can destroy your self-esteem. That can destroy your confidence. That can destroy like everything else after that.
Everything.
Yes.
And remember when we first started, I was talking about not giving them a reason.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
as soon as you start to show that emotion and you start to show frustration,
Oh
and you're
yeah.
not able to communicate in a way where you're articulate about how you're feeling,
Yeah.
you are labeled, and
Hmm.
you are
Uh-huh.
labeled for the rest of your career in that company. And in
Yes.
my opinion, when it gets to that point, it's time to go. you
That's it.
don't owe them anything,
Nothing.
and they're
Yeah.
not giving you anything.
Uh-huh.
So then if the relationship is not mutually beneficial, why
Yes.
are you staying?
That's it. So
Go someplace else.
what would you say to these people who are trying to get into like a long-term career with the company? Like people who are business-minded people, but they
Hmm.
also love to do 9 to 5 without any fear. But they don't really know the reality of the corporation. They don't know the reality of having a long-term career in the same company.
Hmm.
What would you advise them when they are getting into that, especially those who are coming out of school?
Right. Well, the first thing I would say is buy my book, because I talk about all of that in the
Okay.
book. But you really have to learn the culture. You have to learn the culture of the company. You have to understand who are the people who are the biggest influencers within that organization.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to network and get alignment with a lot of folks in that organization.
Okay.
Because the more visibility and the more relationship building that you do, the more people know you and can speak for you when you're not there, because
Okay.
that's what you want. You want to be in a company where if there's a meeting, and as executives, we have calibration discussions, which means we talk about people's performance at least 2 or 3 times a year
Yeah.
in a collected environment, right? So if you've gained alignment and you've pretty much valued your work ethic, but you've gained alignment and networked with several people in the organization, when we're closing those doors and when we're having those conversations,
Yes.
your name will come up
Uh-huh.
and it will be like, okay, well, I think he's ready. Does anybody else have an opinion about, Hark in the room, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then we'll go around the room and everybody has an opinion. But people have to know you. So if
Yes.
nobody knows you in the room and I'm the only one that says, hey, he's ready, I could literally be outnumbered because the foundation has not been laid for you to almost market yourself within the company. People have to
Right.
know
Right.
who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if there are several people who can speak for you, even if it's to say, hey, I met him in the break room, we had a conversation, he set up a meeting with me, he seemed to be very ambitious. That helps because we're
Mm-hmm.
already outnumbered, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm helping to represent and help to influence and push as many of us in those positions as possible, I also need help from you
Yes.
to help me do
Help
that, if
you.
that
Yes.
makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yes.
yes,
Correct.
yes. So definitely especially for my new folks, networking, and it's not compromising yourself. It's not,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm gonna, go get your coffee or all this. It's not doing all of that. It is networking, being interested in the people that you're networking with, having lunch with them, learning about their experiences, talking to them on a regular basis, just making
Yes.
sure you're staying visible, because then they know you and then they can speak for you when you're not in the room. That's one
Right.
of the
Right.
biggest things that can help.
Yes. And that's really important. I mean, that applies not only in the 9 to 5 job, even when you are doing your business. Like
Hmm.
basically, I'm doing real estate business, and I found out that networking is really crucial. That what brings the results. You don't know
Yes.
nobody in this business, you won't do pretty much nothing.
Yes,
So
networking is almost like number one. I would say right next to getting a mentor or having some people that you can talk to that have
yes,
already walked the path that you've walked or have a similar understanding of where you're going, so they
correct.
can help you understand from their experiences. Not that
Yes,
their experiences will be yours, but they can help you understand from their experiences what it was like, and then you can take that knowledge and then you can use that as a part of your toolbox to help you in your career. So, but networking is very, very important, very
right, right.
important, very important, very important.
So when they get into the job, I mean, like they get into corporate jobs,
Hmm.
and they are facing some challenges. Like many people, I mean, when you are a newbie in the business or in the company, the first 2 years are probably the hardest because you have to understand the culture, you have to network with people, as you said, you have to
Hmm.
actually like set up your foundation.
Yeah.
But when people cannot really handle those 2 first years and they are ready to quit, but they still want to do the thing, what would you advise them?
Well, I think it would depend on why they're wanting to quit. Um, that would help me a lot, because if they're wanting to quit just because they're frustrated with, you know, the culture or how things are happening in one
Yeah.
company, leave, go somewhere else. Don't quit your corporate path. Just go someplace else that's a better fit for you.
All right.
The frustrations are going to come. I don't care where you go. You need
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to manage through
Yes.
that regardless. So
Yeah.
if you're quitting because of, you know, whatever cultural issues or systemic, you know, how everybody's being promoted or whatever, go someplace else. Find
Yes.
another job. And if you're not happy there, I'm a firm believer in, and you could probably tell this from my resume, I don't necessarily stay for an extended period of time if it doesn't fit. If it does fit, then great. But if it doesn't, then that means that there's another opportunity out there. Or
Right.
if there's another opportunity, which has happened to me a lot lately, even if I'm, you know, happy in the role, I'm always open for a discussion. Doesn't mean that I won't
Mm-hmm.
plant my feet somewhere one day and say, oh my God, this is the place
Uh-huh.
I want
Uh-huh.
to be,
Yeah.
because that's how I feel about the job that I have now. I absolutely love it, but you have to get to the point where your ethics, your morals, your just being marries with the company that you're working for. And when that fit is there,
Yes.
it is going to be an awesome experience for you. But if you have a frustrating situation, it's one of your first one or two jobs, you don't feel like, you know, you've done all you can, you've done the networking, you know, you got your good reviews, and you're just not moving up as
Mm-hmm.
you know, as quickly as you want, search for other opportunities. There's nothing wrong with that. This is your life. You're
Correct.
investing in yourself.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So the person that's responsible for that is not the company. It's
Yes.
you responsible for managing your corporate career. And I think a lot of people get it twisted when they get frustrated. Well, I haven't been promoted and they not promote me. Well, if they're not doing it and you've tried and they've given you reasons why, go somewhere else.
That's it.
Like maybe that's
Yeah.
not the right place for you, you know, and stop holding these companies accountable for your own career performance.
Yes.
It's not their job to do that. It's your job to manage your career.
You know, that's really important. You just pointed out. I mean, that relates to some of my experience I had. So I worked for a catering kitchen, and
Mm-hmm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
a chance to work for like 3 or 4 of them in the past 5 years. I mean, I was pretty much doing the exact same thing, like the
Mm-hmm.
exact same job,
Mm-hmm.
but the culture was much more different. In one company, people were so much toxic,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that makes the job looks like it's really hard. You are overwhelmed. You are always stressed. You are always going home mad, like angry. I mean, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you moved on to another company, the exact same job, but it's so much more easier. I mean,
Yes.
it's really easy. You are going home so much peaceful. And I mean, it just depends. You have just to have that guts and say, hey, I believe in myself. I know myself.
Yes.
I value myself enough. I don't
Yeah.
care how much you pay me. I
Right.
mean, if you don't value me, if I don't find my values in that company, I just move on.
Yes. And that's important because the money will come.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you're stressed, if you're not happy, if you're, you know, not feeling valued, if you're, you know, in situations where you feel like there's you're not being treated fairly or whatever the reason is, guess what? There are other jobs like that one. There are places where people will appreciate you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more of a culture where it's more inclusive, or maybe it
Yes.
doesn't have, you know, every company has its quirks, but maybe there's not such a toxic environment, because I've worked in companies where the environment was just toxic and people hire people like themselves. So,
Uh-huh.
you know, it just kind of feeds and festers, you know,
Yeah.
you refer somebody who's just like you, and then the company culture becomes just like that. But
Right, right.
you have to be happy. I remember going to work one day, literally in tears
Oh,
because
wow.
I was so stressed out.
Uh-huh.
I was worried. There was so much going on at home personally, and then there was a lot going on at work. And I was also feeling like it was another situation where I was trying my best, and my
Mm-hmm.
best just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And then after that, after I got the tears out, I was like, you know what? We're not doing
Uh-huh.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. What is the next step? And then that's when I started to look online. That's when I started to go to networking events. That, of course, this was way before COVID
Yeah.
hit and we were homebound. But I really started to put time into my network. And
Yeah.
honestly, the job that I have today, working for this Canadian-based mobile company, an internet domain company called Two Cows, came from my network. It literally came
Wow.
from somebody picking up the phone and said, hey, I had a conversation with two people in separate situations, and they both recommended you for this job, and I'd like to talk to you. That's exactly how it happened. So
Wow.
the more you build your network, the more valuable your network becomes to you. But if people get frustrated and they don't feel like they fit, or something else is going on,
Yeah.
don't quit the path. Just go somewhere else where your talents are more valued,
Right.
in a
Right.
different culture.
Right. And when they have like all these things already set up, how can they keep on building the skill set in the corporate America for a long-term
Uh,
career?
yeah, take advantage of whatever offerings they have. But I'm a big supporter of taking classes, certifications,
Hmm.
learning,
Right.
um, anything that is offered, whether you like it or not. This might be a little bit extra, but if you're being offered a class, or you're with a company that will literally pay for you to go to school, or they'll reimburse you 50%, 75%, where you don't have to pay for everything, take advantage of it, because that's free money.
Yeah.
um, my master's degree was paid for by AT&T. I didn't
Oh
pay for
wow.
anything but books. That's it. They paid for the full tuition, so my MBA came as a result of me being an employee.
That's really
um,
great.
that's but you got to take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
when those things are offered, take advantage of it, but you always have to be um, have an appetite for learning, because the industry, whatever industry it is, everything is just changing so fast
Oh
nowadays.
yes. Hmm. Hmm.
You have to remain competitive. Even if it's an online class for 2 days, it's
Yeah.
more knowledge than you had, before you started. And
Right. Right.
whatever class you take, put it on your resume. I don't care if it was a half a day class that said
Uh-huh.
this. Before you know it, it goes from this section to this section, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and then you have more of a resume to show that
Right.
you take initiative to make sure that your skill set is always relevant.
Yes. People forget that knowledge is the new money. You have to
Knowledge is the new money.
you have to
Yes,
always get you some. Always.
always. And they can
Yes.
take all your money from you, but guess what? What's up here? It'll
Uh-huh.
never go
Uh-huh.
away.
Never
You'll
disappear.
always have it. So yes,
Yeah.
stay
I
relevant.
really, yes, I really like that. And I would also like Tom Bilyeu, you always say, you have to always be the forest student. It doesn't matter what you do,
Right.
it doesn't matter what position you have to always keep on learning.
Yes. And it doesn't matter, in my opinion, what level you end up making it to. I don't care if you're the CEO, CIO, CFO, whatever, or if
Hmm.
you're still an individual contributor trying to learn. Learning is constant. So you don't lose the requirement to learn the higher up you go. I think it should actually increase, because
Yeah.
now you have more people's lives in your hands if you're starting to
Right.
grow
Right.
your organization. So
Yeah.
you need to understand what's going on internally in your org and externally in the world to be able to be strategic and
Hmm.
lead an organization to continue to be profitable and employee centric. So you have to learn, you have to
Yes.
know, you have to be up to speed on what's going on in your industry. So
Yeah.
if anything, in my opinion, it becomes more critical the higher up you go to stay relevant to
Yeah.
the industry that you're in.
So I have that question I always want to ask like successful people, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you love what you do. You are amazing, you know your craft and everything else. So how do you keep your motivation every single day? How do you keep your passion every single day?
Oh man, so my family is a big part of that. um, I also have my mom that lives with me, so I take care
Okay.
of her. So my family is a big part of that. But I just think for me, I've just always never been satisfied with what I have achieved. So I'm not
Hmm.
sure if that's, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but it's like, okay, I set my eyes on this, and then when I get to it, it's like, okay, I'm good now, but let
Yeah.
me go to this. Okay,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
now that I've done that, let me go to this. So
Right.
there's always a next level. There's
Yes.
never a definition of done. So as long as that exists in my brain, that there's never a definition of done, then I'm going to continually try to achieve whatever it is
Right.
that's
Right.
next. And it might not
Right.
be a next level thing. It might be something else, like, for me to sit down and actually write a book. That was a next level thing for me, because I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
So now what's next? What else am I thinking
Uh-huh.
about
Uh-huh.
doing?
Yeah.
That part is what keeps me motivated, because there's never a definition of done, but I'm literally, you know, the person that takes care of my family. So, you know, if I don't work, you know, other folks won't eat, and we got to eat. So I got to keep
Yes.
working.
I really like that. I see that in a way like in sports. For me, true champions, they are not the one like working for championships only. They are the
Mm-mm.
one working for growth
That's right.
all the time. Keep on waking
Always.
up every single morning and keep on going after it. And
Strength.
yeah, and if you also know your why, because as of myself, sometimes it's really hard. I trade stocks, and the stock market opens at 6 in the morning in Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to be up every single day before that. Sometimes I just don't feel like it. But when I think of my wife, when I think of my family, when I think of like everybody else that I need to make it for,
Yeah.
I, I have just my motivation.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah,
motivation. We'll
yeah.
have to
It's
talk
not.
about stocks too one of these days, because
Oh yeah.
I dibbled and dabbled in it a little bit right when this COVID stuff was hitting. I did okay.
Uh
Um,
huh.
and then I pulled everything I had out of it, and now I'm kind of, you know, trying to figure out if I should put my toes back in the water. So we might have to have a conversation about that too, so I can,
Okay.
you know,
That'd be
understand
great.
your expertise. Yeah, that would
That'd
be
be great.
awesome.
I mean, I love it. That's what I love the most. I mean, I have my real estate business. I have my other 9 to 5, but trading stocks is what I like the most. To
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I wake up every single morning, I don't know what's gonna happen to the market, and
Mm-mm.
I just love that.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
uncertainty. It
Yes.
makes you nervous too,
Uh huh.
because it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm gonna put some money over here. You wake up one morning, it's like, oh my God, the
Uh huh.
stock,
Uh huh.
you know, increased like $20. Should I stay, or let me hold
Hmm.
on to it for a little while
Right.
longer? And
Right.
the next day it goes blurp, and
Oh
you lost
yes.
and you've lost everything that you got. And it's like, oh crap, I probably should have cashed out yesterday, but oh well,
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think
That's
that's a good point that you make too. Because you have a 9 to 5, but you also have outside interests as well to, you know, keep you going and keep you
oh yeah.
motivated.
Hmm.
And I think that helps with the additional motivation. To your original question, what keeps me motivated? You know, it's work, but it's also the ability to be able to do other things
Right. Right.
with that, you know, with
Yeah.
that, you know, money or level of success or
Yes.
downtime or whatever you want to call it. It just affords a different kind of life.
Right. Right. And being like in corporate America for so many years, how
Hmm.
did you truly handle like inequality between men, women, between black, white? How did you really handle it to be successful at this time?
How did I handle it? Oh man. I handled it in stages, because I think early on, I think I was so focused and grinding so hard just to
Uh
try
huh.
to um, figure out this whole corporate life. I really didn't pay attention, or I didn't let anything like get to me in those scenarios.
Yeah.
I was in the learning stages of trying to figure out how to do this job and how to do it well. Um, I think probably mid career. Um, I started to understand more about myself, so it was
Okay.
easier to handle some of the situations that were that 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 I became aware of. Because, you know, I was saying earlier, the more I learned, the more aware I
Yeah.
became
Mm-hmm.
in my career, um, and I was able to handle situations a little bit more only because I had more experience.
Okay.
Um, and then I had to learn how to figure out how to get to the executive level
Mm-hmm.
once I
Mm-hmm.
made a decision that I wanted to do more with my career. And
Yeah.
that's when I started studying and learning what was happening around me. I started looking at what people were doing, how they were doing it. And I
Yes.
swear, I feel like I'm just going through every single chapter of the book right now. All of this is in the book. Get the book, get the book. But then I started to study people.
Uh-huh.
I started to listen to answers. I started to really figure out who was BSing in those
Yes.
meetings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's sit there for a second. Who was BSing in those meetings and who really knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but I monitored, I watched, and then I started to assimilate or copy or whatever you want to call it, because
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out how to do that. And I knew that I had this skin and this body that I had to contend with. So the more I could figure out what was happening and what they were doing, the more I could learn, you know, how to do it also. And that's how I handled, you know, being in corporate America for so long.
Yes.
It's really being it's really being a student of the process, and not only
Right.
learning and paying attention, but turning it into something that's valuable to you,
Yes.
not just beneficial to the company. Because when you're doing this climb, it's really a what's in it for me type of scenario, and that's what it becomes. Because I also think a lot of people get comfortable with giving to the company, and they're not receiving anything in return.
Yes.
That's not a beneficial relationship. So your corporate relationship should also be beneficial to you, whether it's in a higher compensation or, you know, an opportunity to be promoted, regardless of what are the obstacles you have to do to get there. But you know, it should be a mutually beneficial relationship. And if it's not, and you're the giver all the time, you're going to end up empty. Period. That's in a corporate situation, that's in a real relationship, that's in whatever you want to call it. If you're the constant giver, then that is not a beneficial relationship, and you have to look at that and adjust accordingly. So I handled it by really just honestly just paying attention, being aware, studying what was happening around me, and turning that into something that became beneficial for me. Because at the end of the day, I have to eat. I need a place to live.
That's it. Yeah.
I got a family to take care of.
Yes.
And I got to do what I got to do to get it, basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, I basically used the same approach when I was working for these companies. So for me, I had like a few steps I was doing. First, I had to really find out what position I really want to get in that company. Once I found it out, the next step for me was to actually do what you do, observe. Like fast forward like 1 or 2 months or 3 months, or looking at the person ahead of me, actually analyzing what they are doing, how they are doing it, what mistakes they are making, how they approach the situation, like different situations. Then I can study all of this to prepare myself to be better. And the third step is just yes or no. Do I really want to do that?
Yeah.
Or do I have to find another position to work for?
Yeah. And because we're different, we pay attention to that more than I think other people do. The first thing we learn when we take a job is, what is the dress code?
Yes.
What kind of clothes are acceptable and which ones aren't? And based on the dress code, you're probably going to end up, at least physically from a clothing perspective, looking like everybody else because there's a dress code.
Yes.
Once you get into these meetings and, to your point, you start listening, you're probably going to start talking like the people around you. And one of the things I wanted to be careful about when I was talking about this in the book is that it's not necessarily a bad thing. You just can't lose who you are in the process. You always have to remember who you are, where you came from, and why you're doing this. And once you get to the point where you can get into that circle, however you are able to get into that circle, now there's a responsibility to reach back and be able to help somebody else. Mentoring, hiring, you know, diverse candidates, you know, attending conferences, speaking, you know, talking about things. There is an obligation, in my opinion, to give back. So, you know, the reason why you're saying that is because you know that you're different, and I know that I'm different, and we know that we have to fit in some kind of way to be successful, whatever that definition of being successful is.
I mean, giving back is very, very important. My dad used to always tell me, I mean, back then I didn't really understand it, but when I came to America and I started doing like some of the things I'm doing now, I really understand what he was saying. He always said, success does not mean anything if you don't bring anybody up with you.
That's right.
Back then I was like, why do you always have to say that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. But right now, when I came to America and doing all this stuff I'm doing, being in these companies, doing all these positions, I was
That's
like,
right.
Maybe that is right, you know? I mean, if I can bring up like many people up with me, it's like a security for me in the sense of there will be my support. There will be my backup people if ever something happens.
Yeah,
So
they'll be your number two. You know,
yes. Hmm.
they'll be the next generation of us
Right,
because
right.
there's already a low number of minorities in certain positions anyway.
Yes. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I know in tech, that's a constant thing of trying to get, more people
Yeah.
in general just interested in tech. Um, and if I have an opportunity to help someone, that looks like me get a job, if it's through my own personal network by
Yes.
referring them
Hmm. Hmm.
or through a job that I'm hiring for, or referring them to someone else that I know is hiring, saying, "Hey, this is a good candidate." However it works,
Yes.
there's in my opinion an obligation. Like I
Yes.
have to do that. Otherwise, what I've done for myself is just it's not as valuable if I
Yes.
can't help somebody else do the same thing.
Yeah. I always tell my business partners and my friends, helping people just in this way. Your passion, your goal is for you
Mm-hmm.
to make a career, to help your family, to do whatever you want for you, and your purpose is for others.
Yes,
So
I like that.
yeah, once you are stable with your gift, once you are stable with your passion, you have to actually now use it to help others. Then
That's
that's
right.
perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I might have to steal that. I'm just letting you know now.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
so we don't
Yeah.
have any problems when you see it again.
Yeah, I mean, I really love it. I mean, when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I always
Mhm.
want to give back. I always want to give back. And I was like, okay, I build my skill set. I master my craft. I'm doing everything I can for me, for my family. But what does it really mean if I don't help others? If I don't
Right.
really use it in this service? Because if I help two people and these two people go around and help two other people, and it's gonna just keep on going, and we will be more powerful, more strong, and there'll be more people being educated, more people getting knowledge, and so on and so forth.
That's
So
right.
I use my passion for myself and my purpose for others.
That's yeah, I like that a lot. That is so true in so many ways. And your purpose for others, the
Yes,
purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, not just to
yes,
benefit you, but to make sure that other people get the
yes.
benefit as well. That is so
Right,
powerful. That is so powerful. That is
right.
awesome.
And tell me a little bit about your footprint. What would you really like to live in this earth, on this earth? How
Oh,
would you like people to remember you?
um, wow, is that is a deep question.
It is.
I would love for them to remember me as someone who was always willing to help, um,
Right.
regardless of what it did to me personally. Like if there's a situation where I can help, um, it's no consequence to me what the impacts are as long as the
Yes.
person that I'm helping is benefited from that situation.
Right, right.
Um, I definitely would think that I would be recognized as a hard worker, but somebody who is smart and strategic
Yes.
about creating a legacy for my family. So, hence why I started kind of dipping in the stock market
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
dabbling into some other things that we
Oh
could
yeah.
probably talk about offline. But um, I really would want to be remembered for my forethought of
Uh-huh.
wanting to leave my family with something other than bills. I don't want to
Good.
just leave them with debt, right? I want to leave
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I want to leave them and make sure that they're okay. So everything that I'm doing now is understanding that, we have a life, but we also have people that, may continue on if we're not
Yes.
here. What will they be able to do, or how will they benefit from my presence of actually being here? And I think about that. The older you get, the more you're like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I may need to,
Yes.
start doing some things. And just as a culture, as a people, we don't historically we haven't been in positions where we can really prepare
Mm-hmm.
for others should something happen. And I would want to be remembered for the fact that I wanted to do well by my family and the fact that I wanted to help others, regardless of the impacts to myself.
That's really great. And talking about the book, where could people
Oh,
really find it?
yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I have the book. I have a copy of the book here. Okay. Because I did one of these interviews and I forgot it, and I will never forgive myself for doing that. So here's the book. I don't know if everybody can see that. That is
Yes,
the
we can see it.
cover. So the title of the book is called Only One. And again, it's because of most of my career as a Black woman being an executive. I'm
Hmm.
usually the only one. Um, Diversity checks. Do we have a woman? Check. Do we have a person of color? Check.
Yeah.
Can we get two people in one? Check. That's me.
Uh-huh.
And usually when I'm hired, I don't necessarily always see a lot of people who are hired after me. So being the only one, in my opinion, is not a good thing because there should
Yeah.
be more diverse leadership.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's also a good thing because then I get to be the person who is positioned to actually change that, be a
Yes.
change agent
Uh-huh.
for
Hmm.
bringing other people along or setting up the ball for others to participate or be led into this path
Yes.
also.
Right.
So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, but I'm taking everything that I've been given as an opportunity,
Yeah.
and I try to use it, you know, to its fullest. If somebody else meant it for bad, I'm going to change it into a good situation.
Right. Right.
Regardless of what you think, I'm going to use it to its fullest and make sure that I'm benefiting. Because remember, everything has to be a mutually beneficial
Yes. Uh-huh.
relationship.
Uh-huh.
Corporate, what are you giving me? What am I giving you? There has to be duality in that relationship, and if
Yes.
it's
Uh-huh.
not, then it's a problem.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
would I would add your link to the YouTube video. When I upload the video on YouTube, I'm gonna add a link to Amazon so people can go look at the book and be blessed.
Thank
Because
you.
paving the way for us, it's really amazing. It's a blessing. It's really amazing. We really appreciate it and thank you for that.
Yes, no, I thank everybody who's been purchasing the book because honestly, um, I've been overwhelmed at the response, and I'm actually happy and excited about the response because
Yes.
that means that there was a need for this conversation.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, with everything that's happening right now with the protests and the
Yes.
police brutality and people just being entitled to be disrespectful and you know call you out your name and all kinds of stuff, this is probably one of the most perfect times to even talk about being in a situation where there's a lack of diversity in the corporate
Right.
environment because
Right. Hmm. There
there
is.
is a
Yes.
lack of
Hmm. Hmm.
diversity in the corporate environment, and we're seeing where you know the nation is tired, the world is tired of just inherently being having us being positioned, you know, to be discriminated against.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
you know, we have to open up the doors, we have to open up the path, we have to be
Yes.
very deliberate
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
what we do. And I made a commitment to myself that as long as I have an opportunity to have a voice and influence, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to use
I
it.
mean, yeah, creating that awareness is it's really important because so many people ignore what we have to actually go through to just prove ourselves right,
Yeah.
to just prove that we belong. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's really hard. Raising these voices, it's really amazing.
Yes.
I am a part of it, big time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you understand, which I think a lot of people understand, and a lot of people like us understand.
Yeah.
And to be able to articulate it was one of the things that was one of the main purposes of the book is to be able to articulate my experiences and also share some of that awareness and some of that knowledge so other people can take it with them.
Yeah.
And hopefully by doing that, their journey is not as hard.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but even if it is, at least they'll have something to help guide them through it. So that's really what the purpose of the book was.
Yes.
Is.
I cannot wait to read it.
Thank you. Well, let me know what you think when you get it. Let me know what
Yes,
you
I will.
think.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
And where could people find you on social media, or where could they find you
Yes.
if they need?
Yeah. At Miss Monica B. MSMONICABEE. At Miss Monica B. I have a website, www.missmonicab. That's my thing,
Okay.
MSMONICABEE. Check out my website. There's a link to buy the book on Amazon from my website. Also, you can just go to Amazon, type in Monica Brown Only One. My name will appear, the book will appear. Just make sure you select the paperback copy.
Yeah.
Sometimes Amazon likes to put the Kindle version first, and a lot of people were buying the Kindle version with the
Oh,
expectation of
yeah.
having
See.
the
Yeah.
paperback.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, that's their
Yes.
little trick to try to get their Kindle product out there. I ain't mad.
Yes.
I ain't
Yeah.
mad, but I need my book sold. So
Yeah.
if you type Monica Brown Only One, select the paperback version. Amazon is delivering, I think within, it wasn't 2 to 4 days, but I've literally sold out a few times. So I think it's 2 to 4 days before it actually ships because they're having to
Yeah.
re-up on the books, which is a
Yeah.
blessing. So I really appreciate the
Yeah.
response that I've received so far. It's been amazing. But Miss Monica B,
Okay. Yes.
MSMONICABEE, my website, and also on IG.
Yes. I'm gonna make sure I add all these links on the YouTube video.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yes.
I'll show everybody once again. I need to do it the right way. Monica Brown, Only One. Y'all get the book. And this has been awesome. We're definitely gonna have to stay in touch because I want to talk about stocks.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's not the last interview we are having. Maybe we have to have many more in the future.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
I would like to have you back. Yes.
Yeah, you know how to get to me. You know, send me a message. We'll set it up.
All
Not a
right. Yeah.
problem at all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we really appreciate it.
All right. Have a good
Yes.
night.
You too. You take care. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye, everybody.